Hello, welcome to Hindi reading class 4B. We will continue in the same line of thought as the last class 4A. So let's talk about a little bit more about aspiration, one of the major points in Hindi pronunciation. So let's go on to the next slide. This is a review of what we did last class, just a short review. So see if you can remember um, whenever we practice these sounds, we have to use our hand because that's the only way really initially you're going to be able to tell clearly the difference between these two. Number one is ka and number two is ka, right? Air. That's what you should feel on your hand for number two. Ka, which is usually what we do in English already. Ka. And number one, ka, no air. So hopefully you practice number one quite a bit and you are able to figure out how to stop the air from coming out because that's very important. So that's an interesting example. So here we have the first example, which is Jehovah Karaj, Jehovah's Kingdom. Now, if we just change slightly the pronunciation of this, Jehovah Karaj, now we're telling Jehovah, eat the kingdom. Jehovah Karaj. All right. So Jehovah Karaj, Jehovah Karaj, completely different. So this is it illustrates the importance of doing this and not moving on until we figure out how to do this. One has no ear, one has ear. Okay. So now we're gonna move on. Now say these following words with your hand over your mouth and see if you feel anything on your hand. Gull, gill, game, gall, gold, sing, finger. Did you feel anything on your hand when you said the G? Hopefully you did not, because that's what we're going for. Is that in English we don't really aspirate G. So we already learned this. This is G. We have no air that comes out when we say this. It's basically the same as English G. There should be no air followed by G. And it's easy because you should already know how to do it. Now, here's the new one. G. Now this is G with air at the same exact time, followed by a. So remember, it's the same exact time. It's not gah, it's gah. At exactly the same moment, both the sound of the G and the air will come out from the throat. And as you can see above, that's how you draw it. So let's practice hearing it first. And my theory is that you should be able to clearly hear this. Why? Because you are not used to hearing number two. So whenever you hear it, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. Number one, ga. Number two, ga. 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 All right. So I want you to guess which one I'm saying. Ga. That was number two. Ga. That was number one. Ga. That was number one. Ga. That was number one. Ga. That was number two. Ga. That was number two. G. That was number two. G. That was number two. G. That was number one. G. That was number one. G. That was number two. G. That was number one. G. That was number two. G. That was number two. So hopefully these are a little bit easier to hear than the previous ones we talked about. Once again, the second one has wind. G. And the first one does not. G. So what can you do? One thing, way that you might want to try to learn this is that you can practice saying the sound, the exhaled version of it, not the not that version, but the one that's just like an exhalation version. Just keep practicing that over and over and over. See how your throat is relaxed, the air, you're pushing out the air. It comes out easily. Now, what happens if we say a G sound at the same time? Ga, 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 ga. So when both are said at the same time, then ga becomes ga. Now, uh, here you can practice on saying both. Normally is what I do if this were live, but since I can't hear you, I can't hear if you're doing it right or wrong. So you can do this in your spare time, and we're going to move on. So first one, ga, second, ga. All right, so how does this actually make a difference? Well, like everything else in life, in Hindi, it makes a difference. So, number one, gira means cause to fall. Ghera means encircled. Gun means a quality. Gun means weevil. Girna, to fall. Girna, to be encircled. Gati, no, sorry, gata, to sing. Ghata, extra given of something. Gore is grave, very grave. And uh, ghor is deep or intense. Gal is cheek. Ghal is a throwing down. Gav is an ox. Ghav is a wound. Gin, count it or to count. And ghin is abhorrence. Keeps going. Ganna, sugarcane. Ghana, thick coarse. Garda, pierce it. Ghada, earthen pot. Gatta, it's a hard lump. Ghatta, shortfall. Goal is round. Ghol is a something dissolved. Goat is a hem. Goat, to rub or to polish. Bagar, pasture. Baghar, season. Paga is dipped. Pagha, tether. Nigarna, squeezed out. Nighara, sorry. Nigra, squeezed out. Nigra, homeless. So, as you can see, it does make a difference. And so, like the previous ka and ka, now we have to practice ga and gha. So that's your primary homework, is practice the gha sound, which is the one that you don't know how to make yet, with your hand about 1 inch from your mouth until you can consistently say it while feeling air. So however long it takes, keep practicing it. Maybe you can do the same thing we did before. If it's hard, you can practice doing the and then eventually adding in right? So, one thing you should know though is that you really shouldn't have to make your voice deeper when saying this. It's probably the easier way for you to do it at first, but really you don't. Your voice doesn't have to be deeper, so keep that in mind. Gh. Once you can say "gh" at will, practice alternating between saying "gh" and "gh" with your hand over your mouth, of course, because that's how you're going to know if you're doing it right. For "ga," you will feel no air, and for "ga," you should feel and hear it. So next, once you have done those two steps, practice saying "ga" and "ga" with your hand over your mouth, listening for the difference between the two to try to identify difference by ear. Okay. And in addition to that, of course, you probably want to do the handwriting practice, which is write "ga" 100 times or more. And every time you write it, say it. So you write the symbol, and then you say "gh." And of course, as always, listen to as much spoken Hindi as possible and see if you can tell the difference whenever they say "gh" or they say "gh." See if you can hear it. All right, thank you very much. That was 4B.